The Lights of Wonder Christmas display is not returning this winter season. The Downtown Victoria Business Association, they're the ones who put this on, and they're joining us right now to talk about the decision and other stuff going on downtown. We got Jeff Bray, the CEO here. Jeff, always great to get you on the program. How you doing?
Good morning, Ryan. Doing great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's sort of funny to be talking about Christmas lights in May, but here we are. I guess you got to start planning these things early and talk about what you've decided to do this year.
Yeah, I know we love Lights of Wonder. It's the free light event we put on every year for the last several years in Centennial Square. Our members love it. But it is a very expensive operation to put on. I mean, it takes 3 weeks just to set the thing up. So it's not a small endeavor, and then we have staff and we pay performers and activations. And over the last few years, sponsorship has become harder and harder to come by. And the DVBA, all of our activities, including Lights of Wonder, are funded through a levy of our businesses. And so last year, the city provided us a $200,000 major event grant, which was fantastic. And it turned out that was really the only way we were able to put on Lights of Wonder even last year with that city grant. You can't get that grant more than 1 year. And sponsorship just in the current economic climate has been very difficult. And so we ourselves, the team and the board, looked at the financial obligations, looked at the other things that we need to do to support our members, and made the very difficult decision to this year put it on hiatus. A secondary consideration was that, and I've heard you mention this earlier today on the radio, that the equipment, is getting older. It sits out, all December in all kinds of weather, and we spent quite a bit of time repairing elements last year, and a couple of our elements actually we couldn't even install last year. They're no longer safe. So we're also looking at a major capital consideration. Whether do we replace these? Do we do something different? And so with all of that culminating, it was just decided that we would take a hiatus this year. I know you and Lisa were talking about earlier, where are the elements? They're in storage, and the storage actually is donated to us. So the equipment is still there. We still have it. And, we will assess over the summer, what can we repair? What could we, loan or sell to other entities? That will all be looked at over the summer.
I love this. You know exactly all the questions I was going to ask. This is great.
Well, the CFAX listeners,
yeah.
So there you go.
I love it. This is wonderful. But yeah, okay, that does kind of answer the question. So you've got this stuff still. You'll assess what you do with it beyond this, and you'll also be assessing what you do with the Christmas season. Maybe it's not Lights of Wonder. That's going on hiatus, you said, but maybe something else could take its place down the road?
Well, absolutely. And certainly, again, the desire to sort of, create excitement and energy downtown is something that we believe very strongly in. And our members, really enjoyed it. I mean, it was an expensive thing, but they really enjoyed it. But what we're going to be looking at for this holiday season is, maybe more activation spread throughout downtown rather than just one location. And maybe some of those activations being during the daytime, because, of course, we want to make sure that when people come down and enjoy these events, that they're also supporting the businesses that ultimately are funding it. And so providing more opportunities for people to combine holiday shopping or Boxing Week shopping with, having a drink or dinner out and participating in some of these activities. So, we're looking at all sorts of ideas on what we can do in and around downtown to sort of replace the single location Lights of Wonder with some other cool things. Again, that provide great community benefit, but also supports our local businesses through economic vibrancy and vitality.
All right, I got a question for you, because this has come up all throughout the morning, and apologies, we might have stoked this fire a little bit, but texters are jumping on to the idea of what about just taking some lights and lighting up the big sequoia tree in Centennial Square, or like I think maybe used to happen some of the other trees in Centennial Square or beyond, putting up some big fancy light display there. Is that something we could do?
Well, in fact, your listeners are have a great idea and are very astute, because, in fact, we used to light up the sequoia tree and some of the Gary Oaks in Centennial Square before we did Lights of Wonder. So that is definitely one of the options that we're looking at to, again, spread out the whole idea of lights and the holiday festive season. But that is one of the things that we used to do, and so it's definitely one of the things that's on the table. So your listeners are very astute, and some have good memories.
It could happen. It's one of the ideas to explore for sure. But yeah, people seem to like that idea. I even had a texter here saying, could you just strip the lights off of those metal structures and put them up on the tree? I don't know if it's that easy, but you got that idea thrown out there.
Well, the issue with those lights, one of the reasons why we went with that whole design was those are actually direct current lights. So there's 500,000 lights that we used to put up, and they simply plugged into city outlets.
Nice.
Because they're direct current. So they take less than 120 volts. So they were very, very energy efficient. They didn't generate heat, so that's why you could touch them. It'd be very difficult to pull them out of the structures and then try to string them along and then get them converted to alternating current and plugged in. So they were very purpose-built that way. But we do have, I believe in our storage, this is one of the things we'll assess, is the lights we still used to use on that big Sequoia. And actually we used the same company that did Lights of Wonder for us, Light Right, to install those on the big Sequoia. So that's definitely one of the things that's on the list.
Interesting stuff. So good points from our listeners there at 7-10-10. Another texter wondering about the performances, because I think there was the Lights of Wonder, but there also would be musical performances and stuff like that. And they're wondering how that factors into it. And could you save some money by not doing that? Or I don't know how that all works, but maybe address the performance part of it.
Yeah, well, and again, that's we did have performances. We pulled back a bit last year, again, because of financial concerns. So, I mean, that is always an option, but really the installation and the staffing are the major costs. And those, one of the reasons why we went from 2 weeks to a month was, the setup and tear down cost the same whether you did it for a day or a month. So we decided to run it for a full month. We could cut out the performances. That's certainly something, but that would be sort of an incremental savings. But it's not the major cost. It really is the installation, the renting of cranes and boom lifts and various things that are required, and that's really our challenge. And that's the other thing we're looking at is, could we downscale some of these elements and place them in other places? We're faced with the same problem, is you need the same heavy equipment, whether you do it in one location or 10.
No, that makes sense. Well, look, we're right at a time, but thank you so much for answering some of our questions from our listeners and talking about this change. And we'll watch and see what happens, because still more to come on the Christmas season. Hey, it's only May. Lots of time. Jeff Bray, thanks for talking to us.
Thanks very much, Ryan. Have a good rest of the day.